Okay, everybody, what you're looking at is my topsoil sifting machine. What this machine actually does is my front end loader drops it onto an elevator. It's actually, I think, a 40-foot elevator. Not really sure. I bought it 7-10 years ago, something like that. It's either like a 34 or 40-foot elevator. But anyway, the elevator runs the stuff up onto a platform that's tipped at, it's about a 60-degree angle. I'm not even really sure, but this platform has a wire screen in it, and the wire screen allows the sifted dirt to fall through it into the pile that you can see below. And all of the sticks, stones, whatever, I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video, but all the debris that I don't want in the topsoil stays on the screen and rolls down to the bottom and rolls onto a separate pile, as you can see right now. It's a lengthy process. There are machines out there that can do it simpler. You got the shredder and the grinder machines. They're several $100,000. This is a simpler method. It does take me a little bit longer to do topsoil, but in my downtime, like today, I mentioned it towards the end of the video, we had rain for like 3 hours this morning and everything was soaking wet. So I had some repairs I had to quickly do on my elevator today. I did that earlier today. I didn't record that because it was complicated stuff that needed to be done at the top side of the elevator. The cogs needed to be replaced, but I replaced that this morning, and then this afternoon I got the elevator going, uncovered the torn tarp that was on from winter time. Winter did some destruction to the one tarp on my topsoil pile. That's why weeds already started growing, if you noticed in some earlier vids. But yeah, I basically process all my own topsoil, and basically in the end result I get some garden quality topsoil. But it's just one of those things. If you're kind of interested by these videos, well, here's one of those interesting videos on how you can actually do things. It's a pretty straightforward setup, if you want to say, but I just took it to the next level by adding the elevator in there where I can just dump the stuff on with my front end loader. Here you're going to actually see me just dumping it right on the elevator. When I dump it on the elevator, I actually have to kind of sprinkle it on diligently, because if I dump too much on at once, the screen at the end can't handle it. Plus the elevator kind of struggles at times carrying that dirt up to the top of the elevator. I did modify this elevator from an electric motor. It had, I think when I bought it, it had like a 1-horse motor on it, and I modified it. I went out to Harbor Freight and I bought a small 3.5 horsepower motor, engine, and I retrofitted it. It really wasn't that hard actually to retrofit the motor, the engine, onto it from the motor, because surprisingly all the mounts were the same, so I just had to adapt the engine to it and acquire the smallest pulley for the engine that I could find. Because if anybody knows anything about electric motors, they run at, I believe it's 1780 RPM, and my engine's running at 3600. So I had to tone down the speed of the engine through a super small pulley, which I had to find the smallest one available. And the elevator still actually does go too fast for my liking. There you're actually going to see the elevator. It just bogged out. I had to quickly fix the problem. It's not really hard. I just got to play around with belt tension level. Being the first time that it was ran, things need to be tweaked and whatnot. And that's probably why it happened, or why it's happening right now until I can get the setup tweaked for the summer. But anyway, I did try and eliminate some of the lag time in the video because I am running around a lot with the loader. As you had seen just in the background, I was scooping up dirt. I did try and cut some of that stuff out. This duration of this video is actually over a 3 or 4 hour period, so I did put stuff in super speed, if you want to say. But yeah, it's a interesting process, and it basically saves me a lot of money, because if anybody's went to the local landscape supply and bought bulk quantity dirt, you spend some money on topsoil. Well, I can actually process my own topsoil if the customer requests garden quality soil. If they're just looking for topsoil for lawn fill and so forth, usually I take that straight off the pile. But if they want garden quality because they're going to be using it for their actual garden, well, I have the garden quality variety that I can actually load up in the dump truck and deliver to the customer. Yeah, right here you can actually see me taking some compost. Occasionally I will mix a scoop in here and there of compost. What goes through the screen goes through the screen, and if stuff don't go through the screen, well, then it goes back into the topsoil pile. Either way, the compost ends up as topsoil. I just sometimes will mix some fresh compost into topsoil to give it a little bit more nutrient value and so forth as it's breaking down. But usually I do take straight off the topsoil pile, but I will mix some here and there into it if I feel that it's a good section. That last one was more grass, but here I think this load here might be actual dirt, I'm thinking. Well, it kind of looks a little bit of everything, but because I know I did take a scoop or two of compost, dump it on the dirt, and then scoop the dirt up. It's kind of one of those things where there's no correct method on how to mix up the dirt. In the end result, I get garden quality silted topsoil. So here you're looking at another view. You're actually going to see the silt dropping through the screen as soon as the elevator starts. Well, the elevator is running, but any second now you should start seeing the sediment falling through the screen. Here it comes. Alright, I was kind of left without any words there for a second, but yeah, you'll actually see the stuff dropping down, and it's a pretty straightforward system, like I said before. It looks like a lot of it is rolling off, but actually a lot of it does fall through. I am working with a lot of wet soil today because of the rain that we had this morning, so it's kind of causing the dirt balls to actually roll together. So I was getting a lot of excess stuff coming off the end of it. That's why you'll notice in later segments you'll actually see me scooping up the stuff that's falling off the filter screen and dumping it back into the compost pile. Eventually I do run it through it. Just in this case, if it don't go through on the first time in this situation, I normally dump it back on the compost pile to be ran through at a later date. Usually the little mud balls will break themselves up in the raw pile. That's what we actually call it. We call the pile that I take the dirt from that's the raw pile, and the pile that's after it goes through the machine, that's the sifted topsoil pile. So we call it the raw pile because more or less topsoil, it's raw form with all the debris in it normally. And the screen filters out all that debris, so okay everybody, hopefully you can hear me over the machine, but this is the process. You see all that screen that's here? I'm going to climb up on here. All that screen that's on here. All the sediment that's loose from the dirt drops through that screen into this pile, and it gives me literally garden quality dirt. All the debris that would be in this big pile here all ends up right here. It rolls off the end. As you can see, I'll stick the stick in there a little bit. All the debris that comes off the top of the elevator, if it won't drop through that screen, it ends up right here on this pile. It's something I built about 10 years ago, and literally I've been able to process my own topsoil. Anything that's in there, the weeds that are on top of the pile, it just rolls right off. If there's a piece of wood from a stump, that rolls off into the pile. A little piece of paper here. Here's a stone. Anything that's in this pile here would not go through that screen and ends up giving you garden quality soil, literally. So this is a machine I built, and it's worth it cost me about $500 in wood. In the elevator I picked up for a couple bucks from a farmer that was looking to get rid of it. And I had, if you want to say, I had a dream to build it. I built it, and this was the end result. All this compost that's here also is going to end up in that topsoil, and eventually will be ran through the elevator and will literally give me garden quality topsoil that people can use to actually plant gardens. So anybody ever wants to know how this process is done, this is the cheap route. If you're going to do it on the expensive route, you're talking a several $100,000 machine. But I can do the same thing here for a fraction the cost. But I have a low overhead, which also means I can sell my topsoil cheaper. But anyway, giving everybody a little insight on this, this is basically the process. I'll try and get some more footage here. I don't know how long I'm going to be running the elevator. I just wanted to get the operation going so I know it's running for the season. Because I'll process topsoil whenever I need dirt, but let me get the camera set up and I'll try and get some more footage here. Okay, here's going to be how can you say, a full view of what all goes on as I'm doing this. Because you're going to see the multitasking view now, where, for example, right now I'm dumping the raw topsoil onto the elevator, and you can actually see the topsoil flying off the top, hitting the screen, and what's dropping through is dropping through. What's not is rolling off the end. You can see it's literally like a little stream of stuff that just will roll literally right off the end of the sifter screen. Here you're actually going to see me scooping some of that out and dumping it back onto the topsoil pile. Actually no, I have to clean the screen. This is another thing. Occasionally I have about every 2, 3, 4 bucketfuls I have to climb up there, and I kind of have to knock the debris in that loose on the screen, because the screen somewhat plugs up, and then I don't get as much sediment falling through the screen. So I have to climb up there occasionally and knock the stuff off. But here again, you'll see me dumping some more onto the elevator, and it flies off the end of the elevator. I kind of made a mistake when I built this system, because I didn't realize that the elevator was going to have such a throwing force. It almost throws the dirt halfway onto the sifter screen. I know what I need to do, and I just have not had a chance to do it. Well, it's not that I haven't had a chance to do it, just I always put it off. What I actually have to do is raise the elevator up about 2 to 3 feet, and I have to add an extension to the elevator so that the debris lands on, for say, a board before it hits the screen, and I just never take the time to do it. It really isn't that hard. Like I said, I just never take the time really to move the elevator. For one, where the elevator is sitting, it's in a tightly confined place, which from the first view and looking at it from the elevator going upwards, you can kind of get insight that it's right next to a tree line, and literally it is. So moving the elevator is actually somewhat of a challenge. It basically was put there to stay there. I used to move the elevator when we would need to load wood chips into the back of the dump truck, but now I just get the Bobcat, and occasionally I'll use the Bobcat to load up the wood chips. That's if I'm loading up my dump truck to fill to the rim, but normally I don't like to get the Bobcat out. Also, we may use the Bobcat from time to time for processing the dirt, but the Bobcat likes to tear up the ground a lot because it's not a track Bobcat. It's actually a four-wheeler, and when you turn those Bobcats, they like to make a misery out of the ground, and it makes it hard on the Kubota to drive around because you're driving over all those divots, if you want to say, from the Bobcat. So that's why normally my Bobcat actually sits 15 miles away from town, in fact. It sits out by somebody else's property. I keep it out there because the person does like to have the Bobcat around, and I don't use it that much, so I normally just keep it out by him, and he keeps it stored indoors, and yeah. But if I really do need it, like if I'm moving concrete or something, then I'll go get the Bobcat and use the Bobcat. But generally I don't like moving that thing around either. My car hauler is only an 8,000 pound car hauler, and Bobcats are quite heavy on those, basically the half-ton car haulers. That's what you actually call them, because they only have 5 bolt on the wheel versus the 8 bolt or 10,000 pound. So I really don't like loading my Bobcat up onto my car hauler. But here you're going to see that I just jumped off the tractor. The reason why I jumped off the tractor is because the elevator stopped again on me. I quick got it going. If you look at the top is running. Normally it will stop usually when I'm right there, and I can just jump off the tractor and quick do what I have to do. I basically have to disengage the motor from the belt drive system, play around with it for a little bit. If anybody knows somewhat how elevators run, you have a disengage lever, and that's basically what I have to do. Now actually I think I'm running to grab a shovel because the topsoil the sifted topsoil is building up a little bit too much in this one corner. So I gotta kind of knock it down. So I'm losing dirt over the top corner of the bin that I have for the sifted dirt. So yeah, it's a interesting process when I do get this elevator going. I normally only get it going when I have downtime, and like I had said, today it rained out for, I don't know, it was raining till almost noon today here, so I actually tell people that, been telling people over the last day or two, that if it was a panhandle hooked snowstorm, can't handle a storm. And if it would have been a snowstorm, we would have probably had a foot of snow. So we lucked out because it rained, I want to say, close for almost the last 24 hours straight. We would have had an interesting snowstorm, but luckily it was all rain. Our area, we actually did need the rain because our lawns normally don't start to actively growing till the first week in May, and it was just about that time where lawns are starting to grow, but how can you say, they're growing but they're not cuttable yet. But hopefully within the next couple days here we can actually get out cutting lawns and that. Yeah, it's kind of a repetitious project, but the end result when I'm done sifting this dirt is, by all means, it's worth it. So but on that note, I think I'll cut out here for a little bit and let the video speak for itself and whatnot. But anyway, so yeah, if you want us to sit back, there's more at the end of the video too. I give a little bit of insight as to what was all done during the process. But yeah, so anyway. Oh, hey, another thing too. If anybody's noticing that I have my aerator on the back of the tractor, the reason why I have my aerator on the back of the tractor is it gives me that little bit of counterbalance on the tractor when I'm scooping up the dirt. Because when you're scooping dirt and gravel, you do need a real ballast, and that's why my aerator is on the back of the Kubota. It's actually there for a purpose. It's not that I didn't want to take it off. A lot of times either I'll leave my aerator on or I'll have my rototiller on the back, and that gives me my ballast for the Kubota. And if you talk to any dealership, they'll say that you want to do that when you have a compact loader of something of my size or even smaller. Usually the bigger ones you don't really need it as much, but mine I still need that ballast. So that's why I have my aerator still on the back of the Kubota. But anyway. Okay, everybody, this is the end result. I processed probably 5-6 yards in the last, I don't know, couple hours. I can normally do about 2 yards an hour, but so that gives everybody a little insight. Yes, this big contraption does actually work. It's a homemade contraption, but it processes the topsoil. So if you liked the vid, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button. But I'll talk to you on the next video.